do it this way. So, new to me here is iPad stuff. But what I want to show you today is my radical periodic table palette and how that's coming along. So I'm going to switch into decoder here. What I have here is a radical periodic table palette loaded, and it starts off with a switch case of geometry, gas, liquid, and solid for mineral compound design. Whether you're making plastics, alloys, fuel, and so on. The first one, geometry, is really the core to this radical system, which is measuring true perfect curves, your circumference, your area, volume, and surface area of a circle, and that's all done with radical. And that'll be incorporated into the other sections with variations on mixing the geometry with real-world physics, your gas, your liquids and solids and so forth, and on to other attributes. There's actually just like there's a limit to geometry in math, the order of operations, PEMDAS. This is the same thing for the radical. Your square takes you from the geometry into the real world of physical form, or mass, and the radical allows you to go back and forth between the two. So versus doing math on a computer, you could do everything radical and apply real world. You can touch mass physics to your language here on the computer and pipe that into a mechanical system controlling real world physics, such as a robot melting metal for you, and have real world root base function based off this radical circumference system. And the Kelvin here in case 5 really steps into the next chapter of incorporating the geometry and your operations in the radical system, which the radical system, you got your photosynthesis, you got weight and volume, of course, you got conversion between the two, you got crystallines, and then the things themselves, the minerals, of course, the solids, the liquid, the gas, and elevation, temperature, Celsius, Fahrenheit, which Kelvin is actually root to that. So you don't really have to step into either one, because if you need to know the Fahrenheit of something, well, you can say, well, I just want to know the Kelvin and the cognation of the Kelvin. That's the same difference of whether you're going to use Celsius or Fahrenheit. It's the difference in picking a white envelope with a Fahrenheit on it, or a blue envelope with the Kelvin and cognation. You can't separate the two because one actually defines the other. So what I want to do from here on is put this into say an AR system like the HoloLens, and allow people to have real world modeling in a live plot system that can be piped into teamwork, and later on into AI. So AI can pull the result values out of your input and learn off of that for real world interaction, whether it's neural networks, machine learning in the sense, doing this, I'm not going to use machine learning. I'm actually going to redo the system there, the math here. But in that sense, operating machinery and so forth, and as well on into natural language processing, so it can take the cognition off math and incorporate that with technical writing, literature, and everything else. Have this all in the cloud for one to work with and perform industrial work, aerospace, and so on. It's going to move quite along real well and fast this year, and I'm pretty excited. 2020 is going to be a big year. You all stay live out there and work hard. I think we can continue the program here. All right, so yeah, this is totally what I meant to do, is demo what I've got going here. So section 1, geometry. We'll put in 1 for the section. Let's do 49. There's your circumference, area, volume, and surface area. And what I want to do, which this script's not quite working with all of the other variables, but I've got that going in another file where I'm testing that. So I want to load section 5 for the Kelvin, because it really steps outside the basic operations of radical into aesthetics. So let's give it 10,000 for a hydrogen electron. The measurements of the electron will apply 10,000 to that. And I want to pull section 1. Now this isn't linked to it yet, but the math's still there, so it'll do some kind of conversion with just the value I enter here. So 1, I'll pull the results from there. That's the intention once it's finalized. And so it does a conversion there. Based off the Kelvin I entered, but it's not combining that with the geometry on the 49. I'll work this out here over the course of the next couple of weeks or so. So it's the atmospheric pressure at sea level, and it roots your measurements of your initial start in your project. That way you get a coordination between the actual physical mineral itself and what you're going to do with it based off the measurements that you need to do your design for your compound. Back to cube roots, per area, per volume. That way you just don't have the physical mass form, you got the root to that mass. Whether it's going to be the area, the volume, or the surface area. And all that will incorporate between one another, the solids, liquids, gas, the aesthetics, the temperature, the weight, volume, and so forth. So that's that. And I'll show you kind of what's going on here with the test script for pulling the other variables. In this here, you can see I've got a list of more doubles. I've got some vectors I'm trying to work with for pulling. I'm still going to learn. I can always do the math's there, so I can always lay out the math and get help with laying out the code. Because the math will work, I just got to figure out how to incorporate that into a code. But I've been moving quite along pretty well for not doing this in quite a few years. So I want to load these variables into a global variable. And that way I can always pull that to mix with the other modules. That's the intention of this. Have root math, just the same difference as PEMDAS. And that way people can put in their own parameters and values and put it into a module that maybe someone else comes up with, maybe a team member of the UI design or asset design. And say someone needs a customization to a module that will pull functions out of this for measuring. Like it's started in a way that needs to end in a custom way. There's your first module. Plug and play to the software. Plug and play with your environment, your machinery, your AI, and so forth. And in the Kelvin case here, which is where I'm experimenting with, I'm trying to give people not just the geometry is based off multiplication and radicals, so I want people to be able to change out those functions so they can get a different peak in their measurements. And as far as the Kelvin, what I've got going here is acute convex all the way down to acute concave. So you can mix your operators in that sense. That way you have a height and you have a low. You can have a high low with a low high, and vice versa. Depending on whether you need depth in your minerals based off of the intensity, you could say. So that's how Kelvin plays a part in those measurements, is the intensity versus less intensity. Whether you're using the math for weight measurements, motion measurements, temperature measurements, altitude measurements, you have a high, you have a low. That just kind of like a conductor stick. One end of it's more narrow than the other, and it serves its purpose when belaying information onto particular instrument groups. Same thing here. So that'll wrap up and give you atmospheric pressure at sea level based off that, and give you more control. And this is going to look so awesome when it comes to AR. So people have like actual objects in front of them, and they can touch maybe an element in the AR system, and then hit a button to trigger one of these cases or a sub case, and talk to it. Say, well, let's use 5 meters. Bam. Just touch your picture, instead of pulling up a keyboard or doing gestures. It's going to be so great, especially when it pipes into the AI system. Well, good day. I'm going to try to get this more rounded off here, the workflow and broadcasting. Thank you.